don't like change at the best of time, but I definitely don't like this change to the Premier League ruling. 5 substitutions as of next season. No, don't like it. Anyway, welcome. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're doing better than me. That was a bit of a grumpy start, wasn't it? I'm actually feeling quite good today, believe it or not. Probably not at the moment, but I'm feeling good. Only 2 sleeps to go till West Ham return to action against Everton. Less than a week till our Europa League quarter-final against Lyon. But yesterday was the day that Premier League clubs voted, and as of next season there's 5 substitutions in the Premier League. In case you didn't notice, in case you couldn't tell, I don't like it. Now, before Grumpy Geo arrives, there's another couple of alterations decided yesterday, such as the coronavirus testing. So players and staff of the Premier League now will only get tested if they're showing symptoms of COVID. So that should reduce the amount of absentees between now and the end of the season. And also the summer transfer window dates and deadline has been decided. So it'll run from the 10th of June right up until the 1st of September at 11 PM. It's a long time for the window to be open, especially as of today when energy prices have gone up. I highly recommend everybody keeps the window closed. It should not be open for as long as that. Now, anyway, bad jokes aside. So 10th of June, 1st of September, 11 PM is the summer transfer window. So hopefully, as West Ham fans, that means we can watch other clubs get involved and buy some players and sell some players while we sit there and discuss transfer rumours for a couple. I'm only joking. We will sign players. To be fair, last summer we were quite busy. Even on deadline day we had a little bit of action. So hopefully we'll have a little bit more. Now I just lied to you about a minute ago. I said that's the bad jokes finished with. It's not. There's one more bad joke, and that is there's 5 substitutions in the Premier League next season. I wish it was an April Fool's joke, but it was announced yesterday, not today. I just can't get my head around it, to be honest with you. So you can have a bit of a grumpy Geo. Because I was going to say I'm not angry. You're probably thinking, yeah, you are. I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. But it's not necessarily at the rule change. It's at the fact that 14 clubs voted for the rule change. And I've almost gone through the Premier League trying to convince myself of who the 14... At least 14 of you voted for this. Who are you? Come on then, let's be having you. Now, I've decided on a couple of clubs that I think switched to the dark side and voted yes on this. I might give you their names as well, just for a little bit of fun. Southampton. I've decided Southampton's one of them. They've got some good squad depth there. Hasenhüttl's focused on squad depth in the last year. He voted yes. I see you, Ralph. I see you, Ralph. When West Ham played him in the FA Cup, he made 5 changes in that game. I know what you're doing down there in Southampton. I know you voted yes. But anyway, right, let's discuss it. Before we do, actually, a couple of things. First of all, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, will you? We're not that far off 23,000 subscribers, and a third of you watching this video haven't subscribed to the channel. So click the button, it's completely free. And second of all, I've just got to try and persuade you to join our Patreon, because the first of the month means it's the best time to join in terms of value. If you join on the monthly basis, you get charged on the 1st of every month. So you join today, you don't get charged again until the 1st of May. If you join next week, you get charged again on the 1st of May. So you get that extra week. Do you know what I'm saying? Good time to join, right? You agree? Anyway, so what is our Patreon? It's a way you can support the channel. That's what you do. You give us a little bit of your hard earned. That sounds quite bad, but it's the truth. You work hard for your money. We're asking for a little bit of it, and you can do that from £3.60 per month. Links in the description, pinned comments, and in return you get additional video content. To give you a bit of an example, going up today, we've got the opposition prediction, which is where I take a look at the Everton team. I try and guess what Frank Lampard's going to do. I'll guess the formation, guess what players are going to play, and have a little discussion about each player in that starting 11. Sunday morning, we'll have the breakfast show with myself and Gonzo, where we have a cup of tea, have a little bit of a catch-up. It's usually a 10-15 minute chat. We tend to go off at a tangent in these videos, but we'll have more up-to-date transfer news and so on and so forth. Anything goes in that little show. Then on Monday, we'll have our player ratings with myself and Gonzo, where we'll be discussing the players that were involved against Everton. We've also got other things coming up like the Patreon podcast, but it's not all videos. We've got a few perks as well. The big one is our online store discount. So as long as you're a patron, you get discount at our online store up to 30%. It lasts as long as you're a patron. It's not a one-off code or anything like that. And in the last 24 hours, we've had some new designs in. Got t-shirts inspired by Oasis, the Beatles and The Who on our store. Quite like them, but I'm a bit biased. Anyway, a couple of other perks. Ticket giveaways. We've also got a giveaway coming up this month with some signed merch and stuff like that. But anyway, links in the description, pinned comments. Massive thank you to everybody that's joined up. But do seek it out, will you? Because I've got to try and persuade you. So go and have a look. that's probably creeped me out a little bit. But anyway, 5 substitution rule. Let's get ranting, because it has annoyed me. It has annoyed me. When football returned from lockdown, it made sense to have the 5 substitution rule in place. Players had a month off where they had very limited training. Even when they returned to their training grounds, they weren't fully functional, they weren't fully open. Gyms were still closed in those training grounds. They had then a lot of football in 1 month. It made sense to introduce the 5 substitution rules to help the clubs through as we return to normality. But as football did return to normality and we reverted back to the 3 substitution rules, certain people in the Premier League, like Jurgen Klopp, have still been banging on about this 5 substitution rule. Now I get it. I completely get why those managers want it back and they've wanted it to stay, because they have a lot of football. They've got their 38 games in the Premier League. They're successful in 2 domestic competitions. They're successful in a European competition. It makes sense as to why they would like to see that 5 substitution rule remain in place. I've got no problem with them wanting it. What I've got a problem with is them getting it. They've gone on and on. Yesterday was not the first time they voted for this. I'm not even convinced it was the 3rd time. That's possibly the 4th time they've had to vote, with the other 3 being told, no, you're not getting a 5 substitution rule. It's almost like they've bullied certain clubs into submission, going, oh, do you know what, just have your 5 substitutions. Stop going on about it. Just have it. Let's be done with it and let's move on. And it's a victory for less clubs than it is. Do you know what I mean? There's more clubs are going to miss out on this rule than those that are going to benefit from it. And it's a victory for certain clubs and certain managers in the Premier League. Now, I'm a Premier League fanboy. I don't mind admitting it. I know it's a little bit plasticky or frowned upon to some extent. How dare you be a Premier League fanboy? You don't like modern football. I don't know any different. I've grown... Premier League existed all my life. I don't know any different. But I enjoy watching non-West Ham games. I love it. I watch loads, far too much. I watch loads of Premier League football. And I'm glad it's back this weekend. I'm glad West Ham are back. But I'm also glad the Premier League is back itself. But I want to see the most level playing field possible in the Premier League. I'm aware that will never happen, but as much as possible. This is a step in the wrong direction. I want to see the Premier League get more competitive, but again, this is a step in the wrong direction. It's not even a step in the wrong direction, it's running in the wrong direction. This will benefit the minority in the Premier League. More clubs will miss out with this rule change than actual benefit from it. And that's what I find hard to really get my head around. That it needed 14 clubs to vote yes for this, and I'm just disappointed that some of them have probably just give it in, if you like, to the power of the minority, the Sky Sports Super 6 and others. It won't just be them that voted for it. Well, clearly not. There's another 8 teams, but from day one it wouldn't have been just those 6 that have been voting yes. There will have been other clubs that have been voting yes since day one, and I just think it tilts it in their favour a little bit more. It also removes a big part of management. Part of your job as a manager is to manage your squad. Yes, you have a lot of fixtures. Yes, you have fixture congestion. Yes, it's difficult to play. If you're playing the Champions League, it's difficult to play Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, Tuesday. It is difficult, of course it is. But that's what happens when you're successful. You have more games. It's up to you as a manager to manage that squad, to navigate your team through these fixtures. And they keep on giving the reason, but I say those who keep on banging on about the 5 substitution rule, the reason they give is so they can rotate the squad, so they can make more subs, take players off the park and give them a rest for the next game. Now, I don't disagree with that reasoning. The problem is they contradict themselves. Now, to pick out Liverpool, because it's just an easy example for me to use, when they played their 6th game in the Champions League group stage, after 5 they'd already won their group. That 6th game was a dead rubber for them. They had nothing to play for. That 6th game, he played Salah and Mane. What are you doing, mate, Jurgen? You can't play them and then complain that those two have played too much football. You played them in a game which is meaningless. I'm aware it's about momentum, it's about confidence, and you actually get a bit of money for winning games in the Champions League. But they didn't have to play that fixture. And this is where I find it difficult to stomach it a little bit, and it's going to severely benefit a lot of clubs. Now, this is me being extremely petty, right? Okay, I'm aware that this is me being petty, but I don't care. I can be petty. I'm unsure why the vote was done now. I think it's too close to the transfer window, because now there's a bit of a pressure on certain clubs. And I'm going to be selfish and use West Ham here. Why not? I'm a West Ham fan, West Ham channel, which hopefully you subscribe to. But West Ham now, there's a bit of pressure applied on West Ham going into this summer transfer window now, because we now have to make sure going into next season Instead of having 7 players on the bench, we're going to have 9. And also, instead of making 3 substitutions, we can make up to 5. There's now questions over, do we need more players this summer? If we were planning on buying, say, 4 players, do we now need to buy 5 or 6 so that we can benefit the 5 substitution rule? What's the plan going to be? Now, naturally, you want to say, we'll turn to the academy and promote them. That's what you'd like as a fan, of course you would. But is that fair? Does that make up for it? Does that mean you can compete when you go play Manchester City and they've got 5 world-class players sat on their bench, and even their youngsters coming through the academy are potentially world-class. You know, they're not players plucked out of nowhere, are they? They're players that Man City have usually bought into their club at the age of 15 so that they can nurture them, train them, and make sure that they're ready for the first team. But anyway, does this put pressure on like West Ham? And the reason why I think it's too close, I just think it's too close to the window, but also, and this is my pettiness part, bit harsh, why is Norwich voting? Well, I said it. I'm not editing it out. I said it, right? But my point is, teams are voting who won't be in the Premier League next. 3 teams that have voted on this will not be in the Premier League next season. Now, I'm aware those 3 clubs, whoever they may be, might have voted no to the rule change. They might have done. But they might have also voted yes. And I just think, well, hang on a minute, with the greatest of respect, you're not going to be in the Premier League. You're voting for something that doesn't impact you next season. This vote, if they had to do it, should have been done at the conclusion of the season, where we now know the 20 teams for next season. The 20 shareholders in the Premier League next season can vote for the rules for the Premier League next season. There's 3 clubs in the Championship who are going to come up. Fulham and 2 others, likely Bournemouth and 1 other. They're going to come up into the Premier League next season where there's a rule change which they haven't been able to vote on. And I just think it's the wrong time to have done this vote. But also the rule itself, I just don't like it. At least add a stipulation to it, which is 2 of those substitutions at your 5 must be, you know, your first 3 can be anyone, but then your 4th and your 5th sub have to be age 22 or under, or something. Just put something in place to restrict it, but also encourage the use of the youth academies. Now, of course, that's going to have a domino effect, because like I said, Manchester City's academy and youth players, they're probably better than Burnley's, right? They're going to be better than Burnley's. But at least you just restrict it to some extent. And of course, the other domino effect would be that perhaps Man City would start then investing in players and trying to poach players from the likes of Burnley. If they had an 18-year-old that breaks in, they think, oh, okay, we'll buy him because that's our 4th sub for the next 3-4 seasons. But at least do something. And I just think we've just left it a little bit too easy. And like I said, I think there's some clubs like Southampton, and I'm picking on them because I actually think they should vote yes. If I was a Southampton fan, I'd say, well, we're going to benefit from this. Our manager has demonstrated that we've got good squad depth. I know Shane Long's not the best striker in the Premier League, but he's 4th choice. It's not a bad 4th choice striker for a Premier League club not in European football, is it? But what Hasenhüttl's done is that he can use his bench adequately, and he's got some good experience there. So as a Southampton fan, I'd be a bit okay with this. I'd be a bit disappointed that it benefits them, but I'd be thinking, oh, maybe we're going to benefit from this. Part of the reason I'm disappointed perhaps is that, you know, I am a West Ham fan, and our manager's not been the best at using his bench in the past. He's got better this season. He's not as bad as he used to be. But also our squad depth is quite limited at times. You know, there's been Premier League games this season where we look at the bench and we've got half of its defenders. We've had 2 goalkeepers, half of its defenders. We've had about 2 attackers on the bench. And one of them was Andriy Yarmolenko. Now, while Yarmolenko's done well in the last 2 or 3 games for West Ham, that's it. Let's not make on that Yarmolenko suddenly had a good season. Okay, he's been next to useless for 90% of the season. So when we've had him on the bench, you look at him, you almost put a line through him and think, well, that's not an option. Who else have we got? And it's just, I just don't like this rule change. I just think, like I said, I just think it favours the majority. And the challenge for those managers, like I said, was to manage your team, manage it. Yes, you're being successful, but rest your players in other competitions. Should you have to? Maybe not. But tough. That's the cost of being successful. And I just think we've made it easier for Liverpool, for Manchester City, to some extent Chelsea. We've made it easier for them to be successful in the Premier League next season. Could you imagine being 1-0 up away to Man City and Pep Guardiola is ringing out his substitutions and he's bringing on Gabriel Jesus, he's bringing on Gundogan, Bernardo Silva and Sterling. You think, come on. I know he can bring on 3 of them anyway, but it just allows I just don't like this rule change. You can probably tell. I just don't like it. I think it just favours the so-called bigger clubs in the Premier League going forward next season. And I'm just disappointed that another 8 teams on top of the Super League 6 have voted in favour of it. And I can't work out, like I said, I generally did have a look at the Premier League table and think, well, who would vote for this? Logically, who would vote for this? I've decided Newcastle's one of them because they've got the money. They can afford to invest in squad depth in the summer. They can afford to have players on their bench on 60, 70, 80 grand a week next season. They can afford that. Whereas West Ham, I'm not sure we could to some extent. Can we afford to go out and invest in squad? Yeah, not to that extent. Newcastle can afford to have a bigger squad than what we can, despite the fact that next season they're not going to have European football. And there's a good chance at the moment, there's a good chance West Ham will have some form of European football. And it just doesn't sit right with me. I just hope for West Ham we take advantage of it ourselves, because we do have a good academy. We do have some good prospects on the 23s right now. We have struggled to get them integrated into the team this season and give them a chance. They've still not had one. One or two have had bits and pieces, but that's it. It's not much. It's not enough evidence to go on or anything like that. I would like to see that change next season, but I don't think the 5 sub rule does that, because our problem wasn't that we made 3 subs and we didn't have do you know what I mean? We didn't bring on Vlasic, Fornals and Noble, for example. Oh, sorry, you can't get the youngsters on. Some games we didn't make 2 subs. You know, some games we'd only make 1 or 2, and the youngster was still being. There were still vacant substitutions to be made. So it's not the additional subs that'll benefit West Ham. It's almost a change of mentality. And I'm aware. Listen, I'm aware. Not every substitution is positive. Okay, it's just as easy for a manager to make a sub and get it wrong than it is for him to make a sub and get it right. Okay, I'm aware that sometimes it can have a negative impact on your team, but the 5 substitution rule means you can almost correct that. If you do a sub and get it wrong, that's fine. 15 minutes later you can do another sub to correct it again. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got that additional 2. I just don't like this. I find it difficult to turn it into a positive from a West Ham perspective, but like I said, I just think it benefits the minority of clubs, and they're at the top of the table, and I think it's just going to give them an edge. Not that they needed one. They've already got a financial one. They've already got a better starting point with the players available. You could argue they've got one with the officials as well, but to give them another one, apparently it just got more difficult for West Ham next season, and this one hasn't even finished. Anyway, there's your Grumpy Geo. I'll be back tomorrow. If you enjoyed this video somehow, drop a like on it, subscribe to your channel. Please do subscribe to the channel, and also if you don't mind, check out our Patreon, even if you just have a read and then see what you think about supporting the channel. But massively appreciate anybody that does sign up. We keep on saying thank you, but we do genuinely mean thank you. And just quickly for myself, thank you to everybody that sort of tuned into the Fabrizio Romano video and dropped a like on it. It's had well over 1,000 likes, which is fantastic. It's gone down really well, and he'll be back on again very, very soon. So thank you. I'll catch you tomorrow.